Today I was just pulling all that switch and Mickey Mouse wiring I did when I was 15. I did this because on the 175 and 76 you couldn't kill a headlight and tail light. You could only have high or low beam whenever the key was on. The tail light was on and the headlight was on whenever the engine was running. And now mind you, I was 15 years old when I got this. The title is actually still in my dad's and my name both because I could legally not purchase this at 15. So the title is in both of our names. But I got to get a bullet connector for this white wire right here, like that. Solder it on. Can't believe all those years ago when I was 15 I even soldered everything. I ripped out all the wires that went back there and got the harness all straightened up. I was just in the process of removing the harness so I can start taking things off the frame to prep it for paint. And the turn signals hadn't worked, and over the years, you know, wiping out and hitting stuff, these were bent pretty badly. So I straightened them out. That's where the turn signal's mounted. They use this little rubber grommet. This is this side. This rubber grommet goes in there. Then this goes up over the rubber grommet and the turn signal screws to it. And these were all bent up. So I straightened these out. What the heck have I guess I had a wire in front of the camera there. Sorry about that, but straightened all these out. This wire here that was in the camera needs to be repaired there, the ground. So I'll just open this connector up, give it a quick bead blast and resolder it. This I'm going to have to get a new one. So I'm going to see about ordering that today. And then the socket, because this little grommet thing here was not pulled tight into there, this got moisture in it. And it rusted the socket so bad I had to break the bulb and really work to get it out of there. So I got all that out and gave it a little bit of a bead blasting, and I'll put it back together. There's the other bit. But may see if I can get a new one of these. Find one on the internet or something. There it is in the... It'll work. It's in the socket, so I can make it work if I can't find a new one. I'll put all that assembly back together, but just kind of trying to go through and fix little odds and ends, things like that, and straighten things out and start disassembling the frame so I can get that ready for paint while I'm waiting on the little wire wheels to clean up the rest of the engine. The other turn signal is fine. There's the ground like what that other one has. Green is ground on the Honda, by the way. It's got a little green thing on there, and the wire's green on the motorcycle. And that grommet's all good. And I straightened that bracket, was all bent up too. So that's all straightened out. And I'll clean all that up before it goes back on. Getting a nice little tray of parts here. I'm going to have to go through and clean and sandblast and do some painting too. So the nut was stripped out that was on this for the left turn signal. So before I go soldering a wire on it, I'm going to tack on a new nut. Got a new nut tacked on there. I'll give it a bead blast and solder the wire on, then this piece is done. You have to get the proper screw too. That is not the proper screw. So I'm about to disconnect all the wiring in the headlight. There's like an orange and a light blue, but there's no orange on this side. There's just light blues on each side. So I marked on it and I'm going to video it. That's all green. I'm just going to make note of like this one here. It has a blue wire and it has orange wires everywhere else. I wonder if these two are reversed. I think those are the turn signals, but the turn signals work correctly, so I don't know why they'd be reversed. But we're going to mark it and pull it apart and get the harnesses pretty much all hanging out. So I'm just, like I say, disassembling the frame while I'm waiting on my wire wheels. So I got the harness out, and it's all in pretty good shape. I marked on that with magic marker, and I can clean that off lacquer thinner when I reassemble it. I'm going to clean all the wiring up, wipe it all down with lacquer thinner, make sure there's no pinches or breaks. There's looks like a part number on it. It says 32100-391-000. So that must be the part number for the main harness. This is for like the neutral light and stuff, and the turn signals and headlight, and or speedometer I mean, and the switches up here, which I have these switches new. This part's bad, and this one I just got a new one because it just kind of looks nasty. That will look much better. I'll save the old one, but got a new one, so why not put it on, right? So I'll easily be able to take this switch apart and clean it and repair it. Save it for a spare. Paint that with a black plastic paint and touch up the red. This would make a great spare part. Totally rebuildable. New one will go on. I could easily make that old one look like this. Slowly coming apart. Yeah, the pile's getting large, isn't it? It'll all go back together eventually. This is the next day now, and I just didn't like the way that looked. And I went online and found a brand new one, and it's on the way, and the rubber grommet for both sides is coming. And I wanted to replace, this is the left blinker that the socket was all corroded in, and I thought I'd get a new inner socket. Well, the only thing I could find was one of these, new old stock, and the chrome was all pitted and just really bad shape from shelf wear, and the chrome on this is actually pretty decent. And he wanted $40 for it, and I didn't think it was worth $40, so I'm just going to stick with this one that I cleaned up. And you know, I could have taken the guts out of it, but not at that price. I'm not gonna pay that kind of money for something that's not really nice. So this one's going back on, but this piece will be new, and the rubber grommet will be new, along with the rubber grommet on the other side. One of the headlight grounds is bad, so it's just all loose and falling out of there. So I'm going to clean that up and sandblast it and resolder it and get that fixed. And I'm just doing this while I'm waiting on the wire wheels for the engine. I picked up the zinc chromate primer, the etching primer, and I got a sandable primer so I can finish the crankcase once I get the cylinder cleaned up. And that's just been kind of sitting there idle waiting on those wire wheels. Now I've been doing some more putzing around here with things though, but I think this cover, I think I'm going to leave, after I get everything all ready for paint, I'm going to take the covers off, set the motor, and I'm just going to paint this top part of the engine with all this from the engine mast off and paint these covers off the engine. I think that's the best way to do it, to get paint coverage on the whole thing. So as you can see, I sandblasted that little bracket and pinched the wire over in the tip here and the insulation part there. That's the way it originally was, and I'm going to give that a quick solder and that'll be done. All this little fussy business needs to be done, and I figure now is as good a time as any to do it. You know, just as long as I'm putzing away here, I might as well fix the little things like that. It's easy to do it now as I'm going than wait until I'm putting it together and having to constantly stop to fix things, so I just fix them as I take them apart. It's hard to do this one-handed, so what I do is I heat this until it's, you know, just put the soldering gun to that side and put the solder to this side, and when it sucks the solder in, that's when it's nice and hot. It's got to suck the solder in, so you got to get it hot enough to suck it in. If it doesn't, it won't be a good joint. So that's all repaired. That's the connector I just got done fixing. This goes inside the headlight bucket, and this is the original one I'm going to replace. But I just put things back in place to keep track where they go. So that's repaired. And the reason why they have those, this is where the headlight bolts, and this is all rubber mounted. And that way it grounds things out, like the turn signals and the neutral indicator stuff and whatnot, turn indicator, the things on the so-called dashboard, I guess you would call it. But all this has to come apart so I can sandblast all these metal pieces and paint them with a good quality black automotive enamel. So you can see, you know, you look at it and think, oh, it's just a motorcycle, no big deal, it'll be a quickie, but there's a lot of little fussiness that all has to come apart and be cleaned and painted and then reassembled. So this is the back side of the rear fender, and you can see where that one rivet came out. There's the existing ones. That's the loose one, and I can repeen that one, and I'm gonna try and do something to repair that, and I'll clean all this up so it looks nice. Yeah, and this needs a good cleaning, and I'll have to take all the rubber off of it so I can clean it and paint it. I can take the battery box off separate from the air box, and just a couple nuts hold it on there and there. And then I can clean and prime and paint that too. So yeah, I'm starting to overflow my bench onto the floor. So I think I'm going to try and get it down to the bare frame today, and then maybe stop the powder coaters and see what they can do about avoiding blasting or powder coating that if it's possible. If it's not, I'll just repaint the frame. The brakes are actually pretty good on the rear, so I'm not going to do anything with the brakes. I am going to take the shoes off and clean this all up nice and pretty, and clean the inside of this too. The wheel bearings are good, they feel fine both sides. And take the sprocket off so I can clean that. The wheel bearing in there is in good shape. So everything looks good. To get the sprocket off, you just take that snap ring off. These are rubber mounted in the hub. And I do have new pieces for in the hub there, so if they're worn I can replace them. But that typically will move a little bit like that. And the frame is coming down. I took the forks off in one piece. There's really nothing wrong with any of this. I'll just clean it all up. The fork seals were replaced probably about 5 or 8 years ago, and they don't leak, so I'll just drain the fluid out and put new. That's where you drain the fork oil and then refill them with a measured amount there. And the front suspension really works good on it. Yeah, it doesn't look like much anymore, does it? Pretty much all getting it down to the bare frame. I don't have the special tool to remove that, and I don't want to damage it. So I'll see if I can hunt something up to get that off, or I'll just have to mask it and paint everything. I was going to get a price on powder coating if I can do it without damaging this tag, but it's really not. I think I'm just going to, I can get in here and grind this out really well now while it's all apart, clean that all up, sand it out, and just clean the frame up really good, sand it out and give it a coat of paint. And the rear control arm is in pretty good shape. Give it a coat of paint, sandblast. This will fit in my bead blast cabinet, so I can bead blast that and paint it. This obviously will not fit in my bead blast cabinet, but I might just see about what it would cost to have it sandblasted and powder coated anyway. All I need to do is remove the rubbers from things and I removed the lock from the seat. I removed the lock from the steering. Need the key to do that. It was all kind of gummy and needs cleaning up anyway. I put the lock in here so I can get that all cleaned up and lubricated. But if I really need to take this assembly out if I'm going to have it powder coated. And like I say, I think that's not going to happen. I think it's just going to get paint. But I am going to throw the frame in the truck and stop by the powder coater. I'm going to take the frame, that, and the skid pan to the powder coater and just get an estimate and see if they can do it without damaging this. It's hard to believe I got all this part without breaking one single bolt. It's kind of like the Pontiac. Didn't break any bolts on it either. I guess that's what happens when you get into things that aren't that bad. I guess I'm getting spoiled in my old age, working on this stuff that's in good shape and getting picky about cars I go to restore by not doing rust buckets. I mean, you look at like Cold War motors. If any of my viewers, if you watch Cold War motors, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you got to go watch it. You took a 60 Dodge Dart Pioneer 4-door sedan that was missing all the glass and interior and trim, but had a fairly solid body and good drivetrain, running and driving car. And he cut the body off, and he had a 60 Fury that he pulled out of a cow pasture that was buried up to about the trim in cow manure. And he cut the body off that car because the lower quarter from about a quarter of the way or a third of the way down was completely rotted out from being in the manure. And he welded the Plymouth Fury body to the Dodge Pioneer chassis, which is a running and driving chassis. And then the right rear quarter panel had been in a previous accident, and there was some serious rust in it still. Then he picked up a parts car 4-door Fury and cut the rear off and welded that to the what was, you know, part of the 60 Plymouth Fury. I'm all confused here. 60 Plymouth Fury, and really he's making chicken salad out of chicken poop. He took 3 piles of chicken poop and is making a pretty tasty looking chicken salad out of it. I look forward to seeing that car done. I think it's going to be totally amazing. Nothing like, I mean, just 3 totally complete parts cars. 2 of them just, in my mind, well beyond restoration, the 2 Furies. But such a cool car. I'm so glad to see him restore the car. So if you watch my videos and you don't watch Cold War Motors, go check Scott out at Cold War Motors. He does some amazing cars. I will leave a link in the description below to Cold War Motors channel. So again, if you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.